How's it going, everyone? My name is Mulder and welcome back to the GameCron. Today we're looking at Outriders Devastator Vanquisher Build. I'll be going over my level 30 tier 14 Devastator along with what type of abilities I've chosen for this build. We'll look at the skill tree, what attributes and mods I'm currently using, along with how best to use this build. All that and more straight ahead. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for a lot more. So let's start things off with the skill tree. Now the first skill you're going to want to unlock is Havoc, which will increase your weapon damage by 8%. Armorbreaker, which increases your armor piercing by 10%. Brawler, which increases your close range weapon damage by 15%. Perpetual motion, which reduces your kinetic skills cooldown by 15%. Armorbreaker, which increases your armor piercing by 10%. Assault Adept, which increases your assault weapon damage by 12%. Havoc, which increases your weapon damage by 8%. Bullseye, which increases your critical damage by 20%. Havoc, which increases your weapons damage by 8%. Assault Master, which increases your assault weapon damage by 20% and increases your assault weapons drop by 20%. Perpetual motion, which increases your kinetic skills cooldown by 15%, Brawler, which increases your close range damage by 15%, and Havoc, which increases your weapon damage by 8%. Dry Them Out, which increases your weapon leech by 5%, Bounty Hunter, which increases your damage against elites by 15%, and elites deal 15% less damage to you. Bulletstorm, which reloads your weapon 20% faster, Ammo Stockpile, which increases your magazine size by 50%, Confrontation, which enemies who damage you will have their physical damage reduced by 10%, Armorbreaker, which increases your armor piercing by 10%, and then finally Altered Charge, where kinetic skills end and increases your weapon damage by 70%. Now as you can tell, this is mostly a frontline build, but now let's look at the skills. The first skill that I'm currently running with this is Boulderdash, which with the coverings of rock, your character will immediately charge towards enemies, barreling through them and then slamming the ground doing heavy damage. This is great for crowd control. Another good skill for crowd control is Gravity Leap, where when you take to the air, you can immediately lock onto a target and then slam to the ground, creating a shockwave, damaging them and all enemies in the area. And then finally, I'm also using Impale, which summons spikes out of the ground that can impale your targets and cause bleed or finish them off if their health is low. Now, as I stated before, this is a great build to run when you're moving up the tiers and just starting expeditions and clearing the main story. My level 30 character at tier 14, its current anomaly power is 29.5k, firepower which is at 45.5k, health at 7,468, and armor at 55k. Now, the type of attributes I'm trying to run with this build that work well with it have to contain Anomaly Power, Cooldown Reduction, bonus firepower, and close range damage. Getting these attributes will definitely pay big time for this build if you manage to get this with your armor set, but definitely try to focus on getting close range damage and bonus firepower as much as you can. You will be relying heavily on your weapons with this build. But now let's talk about the mods. The first one is Primal Knuckle Duster, which increases your boulder damage by 15,177. Next up is Damage Absorber, which increases your armor by 18,539 and your resistance by 10%. Sharpened Spike, which your Impale deals 18,396 more damage. Impaler, which allows you to use the Impale skill one extra time. Human Comet, which gravity leap damage increases to 28,371. Now these damage numbers are based on my current build, so if you continue to focus on this build and upgrade this character, you're going to be increasing these numbers dramatically. But these are definitely the mods I recommend to run with this build as of right now. And then finally, let's look at the weapons. Now obviously you want to be running either LMGs or heavy assault rifles to go with this build, which right now I have the Juggler, which is at 23.7k, Damascus Offering, which is at 19.3k, and then finally Torment and Agony at 12.8k. This is a heavy damage dealer hit and run type character, which is great for rising up in the tiers and doing max damage, especially when you're making your way through the story. It also is great to run with a team and to help level up your character when you're doing expeditions. If there is one weakness with this build, is that the health can definitely be a bit of a factor when you're taking so much heavy damage. But since you can dish out so much heavy damage yourself, you're going to be able to melt your way through your opponents very quickly. This is a great build to be running, especially when you're starting off in the expeditions, when you're trying to make your way through 1 tier all the way up to 9 tier. Not to mention the fact, if you continue to upgrade this character's stats, those numbers and those extra damages to the mods will just continue to grow. You'll be able to barrel your way through your opponents without any issue, which is why I really love this frontline / hit and run type build. But I'm curious, what type of build are you currently running with your Vanquisher? Definitely drop a comment below. And that's it for our Outriders Devastator Vanquisher build. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for a lot more. We have one more video left for the Devastator for Outriders, and that will be our final video for Outriders so far. The next series we'll be working on is Biomutant, which comes out later this month, along with more RPGs that are coming out later in the year. I cannot wait to dive into Biomutant with you once that game comes out, along with more RPGs, but until the next video, my name is Mulder, and thank you so much for joining me in the GameCron.
Shira, about those energy spikes?